Welcome to Living a Luxury Lifestyle, where we talk with influencers in luxury lifestyle products and services from around the globe. I'm your host, Cliff Perotti. Welcome to Living a Luxury Life. I'm your host, Cliff Perotti. In today's episode, we'll be speaking with Darin Tansey of Douglas Elliman out of Miami, Florida. He's a seasoned veteran luxury waterfront real estate guy and a top producer with over $1 billion in sales and over $200 million in luxury listings. He's also part of Douglas Elliman's sports and entertainment division. Originally from the Midwest, he attributes his success to his foundation of Midwest values. Darin enjoys an active lifestyle and allocates his free time to traveling, fitness, golf, cycling, cooking, and last but certainly not least, he's a wine enthusiast and collector of fine wines. So welcome to the show, Darin Tansey. In today's program, we experienced some technical difficulties, and as a result, the first few minutes of Darin Tansey's interview was lost. So we pick up on that interview with Darin talking about entering the real estate business in Miami in 2007 and 8 at a time when the real estate market was certainly not at its best. Let's join in that conversation now.
A year or 2 years later, what would have happened at that point? It would have been too easy. And, would I have gained clientele? Most likely. But you look back and say, it's like, now I know how to work this market, which is unique like any market, better than I ever could have, because I realized I was able to take zero, absolutely zero, and build it into something.
Yeah, well, and you build this tool set at a very difficult time. So you enter the marketplace in 2007, 8 in Miami. You come from the Midwest. You've gone through the pharmaceutical sales. You're filled with vim and vigor. You get down there, and how did you end up in the luxury side of the business?
Frequent question, and a lot of new agents is asking, hey, I want to sell luxury real estate.
Yeah, of course. I want to sell really expensive stuff.
My question to them is that define luxury real estate, because there's no true definition. Luxury real estate to one is not luxury real estate to the other.
Sure.
And real estate in general, and I always say the same thing, is that do you know how to sell non-luxury real estate? And if the answer is no, then it's a very obvious question to them, and they have a smile, and then I have a smile, is that you need to learn how to crawl before you walk. So the answer to your question is that I got lucky, just like everybody.
Yes.
You get lucky, you meet one person, and from that standpoint, then you build yourself, and that's how you become successful selling luxury real estate. My first client was a guy that I was introduced to at a coffee bar right across the street from the first real estate company that I worked in. And how did I meet him? I was just there at the right place at the right time. I knew the guy that worked at the coffee shop. He knew the guy that was standing there and said he needs help renting his family home down in Key Biscayne, where I did my first real estate transaction as a 5-year rental at like $17,000. It's a lot of money. It's a big deal. I had no idea what to do. But from that standpoint, I guess that's where things started. But it wasn't always luxury, and it wasn't always easy. I think the real how I really became successful working in real estate is I proved myself over and over to an investment group that owned a rental apartment building.
Okay.
And that was in North Bay Village. And I had struggled and kicked around a couple deals here and there. They liked the way I worked, and I asked them. I said, hey, give me a chance. You have this building. You have all of these rentals. And they said, okay, we're going to give you a chance. So I was able to get 10 listings in this rental building.
Right.
Those 10 listings, luxury real estate, were between $900 for a one bedroom and $1,800 for a two bedroom. And I drove back and forth between Miami Beach and this little crappy apartment that I rented, back and forth to North Bay Village, showing apartments to people that wanted to spend between $900 and $1,800 a month. And I busted my tail, just like those were $9 million and $18 million. And I rented them all very quickly. And then they gave me more. And then I rented them all again. And then what had happened was I started to transition some of those people into purchases. It's just that, I didn't recreate the wheel. I just worked my ass off. And that's really what it takes in this business. So many people have gotten lucky because they know people. Their family knows people. They come from a pedigree to where their first clientele wants to buy a $10 million house. It happens. But, that's where things got started out for me.
So let me ask the question I ask of everyone. What does luxury mean to you?
I mean, it's, luxury isn't a dollar figure to me. And after a while, you naturally are going to get into bigger transactions, especially I think if you're in an area like I am in Miami Beach. So,
Sure.
luxury, I don't look at luxury to say, oh, it has to be $1 million or it has to be $5 million. It has to be $10 million. It doesn't mean that at all. I mean, I'm one that looks at the transaction as a whole. And I also look at who is buying and selling that and where future business could come from out of that. And at any time, as a young realtor, and I've said this numerous times, and I give this example every single young realtor that I've trained or new realtor that I've trained, is that you take a triangle and you invert it and you go upside down. And I said, okay, you write the word real estate on top, like the base. That's the big part, right? Real estate. What do you want to focus on is down at the point. And so if you want to focus on luxury, I ask them to define luxury. And then they say luxury, I want to sell $1 million house somewhere. You put that down. You have to realize that you have to get understood and you have to know exactly what you're doing all the way down that triangle if you want to get as an expert into whatever this is. That may be,
Right.
maybe commercial, that may be $10 million homes, whatever. But if you're not good at all this other stuff, you don't have a foundation to where you're never going to be able to accomplish your goals to actually get to the point to where you're an expert at whatever luxury may be.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny you use a triangle. In training, we've used a concept of what we call performance triangle. But you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, I also think there's a level of focus you have to have. I think a lot of times people they get all enamored with the idea of selling luxury real estate, and then they realize, oh, this is really hard. It's like selling anything else. You've got to go to work every day, and you got to meet people. And you also said something which I think is interesting. I have found that you never know who you're talking to. You never know. It's the guy in blue jeans at the coffee house you meet that's worth millions, and you just didn't know.
And also this amazing concept that a lot of realtors don't know, and a lot of salespeople don't know. This amazing concept called answering your telephone. So I know this is tough to understand and comprehend on a Monday morning, but when you actually answer your telephone, the thing that rings, the thing that you're on all the time,
Yep.
You'd be surprised who might be on that other line.
Yeah.
They may want to do business with you. And if you don't answer your telephone, then you're never going to do business. And I can't tell you how many examples that I can give over the years, especially early on, of me answering my telephone and doing exactly what you said. Is you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who you're meeting. And I had a sign that was up on a lot that I sold. My first big deal, I sold for $2,450,000. Mm-hmm. The same guy in the coffee shop that I rented the house to for $17,000 for 5 years. So he and his family bought a vacant piece of land on the Venetian Islands. At that time was for $2,450,000. Laughable now if you knew what it was actually worth. So he bought this and he was going to tear the house down and build a family house. But he had no rush to do that. And I said, you mind if I keep my sign up in your front yard? Because this is a popular area and I think I might get phone calls. He said, no problem. So I kept my sign up there and I kept my sign up there and I kept my sign up there. He would have sold it. By the way, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, different world, but that's okay.
Yeah. So disclaimer, I don't do that now. I don't know how many phone calls that I had from that particular sign that I answered my phone all the time, day and night, 7 days a week. Again, focus to where that turned into business and that turned into more business and that turned into more business. And I can think about examples. Literally, I had my license in 2007, so it was a long time ago. To where business that I've done just this year or in the last quarter that was luxury, let's say over $15 million sales, because of that answering the phone and because of that sign. So you don't know who you meet and you don't know who's on the other line when you call.
I've had a couple of major commercial deals that happened where the opening comment was, I'm calling you because the listing agent never calls me back. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
But the listing agent was just so upset that
Yeah,
you bothered them when they
yeah,
answered the
you
phone.
annoyed them.
Yeah, like, I'm so sorry. And say, aren't you a good realtor, right?
Let's jump briefly, if we can, to Douglas Elliman. Now, this is a company that's out of New York, if I believe, or New York area, I should say, and it's over 100 years old. Um, they're now doing very obviously strong. I think they have 19 offices in Florida.
Mhm.
Um, what attracted you to the Douglas Elliman culture?
So I first went to Douglas Elliman in 2008. 1 year, I was about a year and a half after I got my license. I worked first for a company called Majestic Property, a small company, which actually Douglas Elliman ended up acquiring years down the road. So, I went there originally when it was Douglas Elliman Florida at that time. So Douglas Elliman Florida was kind of a stepchild that was down in South Florida, one office from Prudential Douglas Elliman at the time up in New York. They had the Prudential flag. So, I had went there. I had heard that they were a boutique shop, that it was a New York-based company. That obviously, for very obvious reasons, the New Yorkers were coming down, and it was a known synonymous brand. So the culture at that time was interesting to me. I was early on in my second company, so I knew a couple people, and I thought, okay, this seems like a great company. Was there for a little over 3 years. Douglas Elliman, Florida was then they bought out their Prudential flag. So Prudential was no longer, and it became Douglas
Right.
Elliman Real Estate. So at the time, there was quite a bit of transition. For me, my career had just kind of taken that next step, sold my $2.4 million piece of land, and I was ready to, advance into my own career, right? Take that next step. So for me, I left Douglas Elliman. I went to an operating company, smaller company, firm. I went to another firm for about a year as a startup, and then I came back to Douglas Elliman. So we'll go straight stay with Douglas Elliman. At that time, I was looking at what a large operation had done and the presence that they were gaining very quickly. And this was 2014 when I went back to Douglas Elliman down in South Florida. They started up a sports and entertainment division, which I was chosen as one of the founding members. The CEO at the time had been courting me for literally a year before that, and saying we're going to start up this division. The CEO at the time was also a very close friend of mine, well before Douglas Elliman. So I made the transition back. Now, fast forward, what am I doing now? Still with the company, as I thought then, is that you have a culture, within a company of seasoned professionals. This
Hmm.
wasn't your average real estate company that somebody just walks in with a piece of paper and saying, "Okay, now what I do."
Yeah.
There are companies that are successful, and rightfully so. That's specifically what they do from a training platform for brand new realtors, to teach them how to be a realtor, teach them how to sell. Just wasn't in my component at the time. So now from Element standpoint, it's still that culture. It's still a tight knit form of a family, and I see it.
Mhm.
We're a major company. We compete in some of the best markets: Los Angeles, Aspen, obviously Miami, all throughout South Florida, New York, up in the Northeast, Hamptons, etc. So company wise, we're right up there with the best of the best, privately held, and there's still that culture and that family perspective is in terms of what you look
I had forgotten they were part of the Prue franchise
at.
because I was a national trainer for Prue, Priya as we called it, yeah, at the time, and you're suddenly going, oh my God, you're absolutely right. I had forgotten that.
Yeah.
Interesting. So now, are they looking to further expand into Florida's footprint, or are they pretty happy with what they have and looking to be stable at this point?
We were in mass expansion mode, and we were continuing obviously with COVID that just stopped everyone in their tracks last year
Sure.
with fortunate furloughs that happened at the company. There were several offices that actually shut down. These were smaller branch offices. Didn't have any effect per se from a business outside the normal business standpoint. I mean, by the end of last year, the amount of revenue. I don't know if it's been announced yet, so I don't know if I should say, but the amount of revenue that the company has done in Florida, not only year in last year, but also what they've done this year, is unbelievable. It's sales have been astronomically good, not only for Douglas Elliman but for other operating companies. But um, I know that we've expanded into the Tampa area. We've looked at further West Coast expansion. We're well up north, up in Wellington, Jupiter, Palm Beach areas, and very successful in those markets. So outside of further expansion in Florida, I'll leave management to focus on that.
You won't get in trouble telling any secrets. Yeah.
I don't want to start any rumors on this interview, but
Yeah.
I can say that more importantly for your audience is that in the last year, and looking in 19 or 2 years ago in 19, Chicago was a market that we were heavily looking into, and I hope.
I wonder why haven't they come to Chicago? That really surprises me. In fact, I want you to know reached out to the president of the company asking, "Are you guys in Chicago and I'm just missing it?"
Yeah. No, it was heavily looked into, and it was one of the secondary markets that the company had looked into. Our main markets that we're in right now are intentional. This isn't that we're not in Aspen just as a fluke. We're in Aspen because our buying pool from the Northeast, from Miami,
Sure.
from LA, that's where they go, and that is
Right.
what Howard Lorber, our chairman, and Dottie Herman had always looked at to say is we follow our market, and our markets were going there. We've just expanded down to Houston. Why to Houston? Because the amount of wealth from Houston that goes to Aspen is outstanding, and you have a tremendous amount of people from the Texas area that actually go into Aspen. Chicago is still a market I know that the company's looking into, and Chicago is definitely a market that I certainly have my ear on because if they're going to do an expansion, I want to be part of it. So
Yeah.
it'd
Yeah.
be incredible to have the ability to where so many New Yorkers go back and forth between New York and South Florida. But for me, fortunately, if I can have the ability to go back and forth between Chicago, that'd be ideal for me to spend, a lot of time back in Chicago. I still consider Chicago my home. I've been down here for 15 years. I was in
Well,
Chicago
that's
for 10, but to me, Chicago's still home.
it gets in your blood, doesn't it? The city definitely.
It's the walk when you arrive into O'Hare, you have your bag and you're walking out and you walk down that long hallway and you just get
Yeah.
that. I get a little tingle. I get that feeling like I'm back home with my people.
Oh, there it is. Oh my. So now I noticed that you were involved with a Ritz Carlton residence project down there. Are you still involved with that, or are they sold out and done, or what's happening with that with
Yeah,
Douglas Elliman
no,
Florida and all that?
still involved heavily with the project. Actually, I'm actually here right now in my own Ritz Carlton residence.
Okay.
So I came onto the project in June of 2016. Douglas Elliman took over from the previous brokerage that had the listing pre-sales, and we've had the listing, we've had the project ever since. Fast forward, we had our first residents move in Q4 of 2019.
Right.
And then, as I tell everybody, I started to believe everything that I was telling everybody, and I thought, sounds like a nice building. So I moved in myself. So I've been here since January last year. We are about 90% sold out right now. We have sold nearly $150 million worth of inventory since December of 2020. It has
Wow.
been amazing to see 50 remaining units from the developer dwindle down to now. I think our number as of today is about 12. And
Mhm.
we have people fighting over deals. We have price per square foot that's blending around 13.50 a foot. It's an incredible brand. It's Ritz Carlton.
Wow.
Back to Douglas Elliman. I mean, Ritz Carlton is a known luxury brand for nearly 100 years. So we have a 5-star living experience without a hotel component right in the middle of Miami Beach. So it's quite
Wow.
unique.
You must get, I have to believe that the Miami area gets an enormous amount of foreign investors. Not, and I don't mean like just foreign, like the Northeast. I mean like international foreign investors. Are you still finding that to be? I think at one point it represented 14% of the market or something down there. Is it still that strong? Are you still seeing foreign capital coming into your marketplaces?
I see more national, to be candid. I mean, it's
Mhm.
whether it's just the market that I'm in or not, but I see the national investor has predominantly overcome that of what the last cycle was like. The last cycle was like where it seemed like it was all foreign money that had been coming in, and the investment was strong from both South Latin America, and also over in Europe. The times have changed. The times have changed significantly.
Yeah.
Government structures in respective countries, foreign currencies that have had major ebbs and flows. That has changed perspective when it comes to foreign investment. But now the national investment, obviously with COVID last year, and not to keep going back to that, but
Oh, it's affected us. Yeah.
it's significantly changed every single walk of life and business. And now even more so from a national perspective, individuals that actually can actually obviously get into the country or they are here, they're realizing that from a quality life standpoint is that wherever they were before, wherever their families were before, there's a different perspective in terms of what's most important and what's most valuable. And quality life is just that. And once we don't have it, if you don't have quality life, we realize the consequences. But people understand that our city and all, South Florida as a whole has only gotten better. The schooling is incredible. We have some of the best private schools in the country. We have college prep schools that are actually coming down to South Florida and opening up their doors. And I would say, from an overall arts culture perspective down here, there's more to do. This isn't just a city to where people come and vacation and party. This is a booming city that has changed dramatically over the last 5 or 10 years, where people can see this as a full-time residence, and now even more so realize how easy it is to get to wherever they were before. And we haven't even talked about taxes. So
No,
we know we have.
there's not much to talk about there. Two questions for you. Our last two questions of the day. Where do you see the market in 2021? You're already in it, but how do you think it's going to affect the luxury market for the balance of this year?
I think we're going to continue strong as we have. Inventory is down, which has pushed the demand up. This summer is going to be a big telltale sign in terms of what happens to our northeasterners of the comfort level of going back. There was this great exodus and this migration from not only the Northeast but from major cities. And I've told this story before, and this is the truth: is that I have not seen or experienced so many Chicagoans down in South Florida, specifically in Miami and the Miami Beach area, in the previous 14 years of being down here than I have in the last 6 months. For me, that says quite a bit about where we're at from a real estate market standpoint, from an economic standpoint, just from an overall governmental standpoint. If you're looking at the difference between the cities and states, couldn't be happier that usually it always was the people from the Midwest went to Naples or the West Coast of Florida, where we have seen some significant wealth from Chicago come down here. I had a property last year to where you had two people bidding on the property at the same time for over $15 million. So, and that's just one of a multitude of stories from individuals that have come from Chicago. So it's good to see that. Long and short of it, what happens in 2021 is I think we continue to stay strong from a government standpoint. We're first in 4 years from a tax standpoint. We're in and of the same. So thankfully there are vaccines that are out there that are going to change this horrific pandemic that we've all experienced and the tragic loss of life across the country and across the globe. But we still have this in our face. This isn't going away anytime soon, unfortunately. Summer, I think, is going to quiet down, but once fall and winter comes along, we are going to have some form of a flu season again. And I think people are going to start to really think in terms of where they want to spend the rest of their lives.
You're right on, and it's funny because you do mention the taxes when you talk about Illinois. I mean, and Chicago, highest property taxes in the United States,
Exactly.
and it seems willy nilly, and I think people are getting tired of it. And so I do see a growing trend of moving south. People, they'll say they're starting a second home, but they're leaving.
You're right.
It's like, it's like they don't want to tell their neighbors. All right, the last question I want to get to, because I know you're a wine connoisseur. What is your favorite red wine? I'm a red wine guy, so tell me your favorite red wine. When you go to the store and you want to, what is it?
Oh, there's a couple brands, fortunately, or a couple vineyards that you can't really find at the stores right now.
Oh
But
no.
there, Andy Erickson is a very well-known vintner from Napa Valley. He's been around and had the likes for for decades of experience. Screaming Eagle
Hmm.
was one of his well-known and most prominent wines that are out there.
Hmm.
There's a wine called Dalla Valle that I actually just had last night. So it's fresh in
Oh.
my mind because I can still taste it. But Dalla Valle is would definitely be one of my favorites at this point. There's a couple new ones that Andy Erickson has as well that are out there. I've always been a Pride Mountain guy. Nickel and Nickel
Oh,
is
okay.
another good one. I had the pleasure of meeting Eric Nickel very randomly sitting at a bar, drinking wine and telling wine stories out in Southern California, and we just get talking, and he's asking me what I thought about Farniente and Nickel and Nickel. Told him how amazing his wine is, and he cheers me. He said, "By the way, my name is Eric Nickel." So cool story. Good thing I like this wine.
Yeah, it would have been bad if you gone the other way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, Darin Tansey, thank you for being with us on Living a Luxury Life, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon in Chicago.
Great. Thank you very much for the time. Looking forward to it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening in on this episode of Living a Luxury Life. This program is brought to you by the Luxury Marketing Council, a global network of leaders and influencers in the international luxury industry. Join us next time as we discuss trending topics with luxury lifestyle influencers. I'm your host, Cliff Perotti. Thank you for tuning in.